And for part 2 of the wall, we've got West Germany's rifles. And starting off, we have the G1, which was a contracted version of the FAL from FN Herstal in Belgium. This is what Germany was purchasing for its military and border guards starting in 1956 and running through about 1958-59. This is your basic metric FAL. A few changes that Germany wanted to do that FN obliged them is this was the first model to have what they call today short sights. They're 3 millimeters shorter, front and rear. It also has a closed ear gas block. It also introduced this folding light bipod here with the metal sheet steel handguards. The reason they went with these handguards as opposed to wood is they couldn't develop wood handguards that wouldn't crack because it has to be so thin to let the bipod fold flush. So their solution was to do metal. Later on in the 70s, FN would come out with polymer that would allow it to do that. But yeah, metal. Interesting feature of the G1 is this quick removable flash hider. You just grab it and twist and it pops off. If I can do it on camera, it's stiff, but it's pretty easy sitting it down. And you can put on a grenade launcher or blank fire adapter in its place. It has a lug under here. This has the metal cocking handle, folding carry handle, Type C buttstock, reinforced here, has a trap door for a cleaning kit, rotating sling swivel, polymer pistol grip, which is correct for a later G1. But yeah, this is what West Germany was using in the early days, right after they were allowed to re-equip by the NATO allies. Now, there's a lot out there on the internet about the politics behind this rifle. Basically, you know, they purchased several tens of thousands from Belgium, but when they asked for a sight license, Belgium said no. From what I've read, they knew that was going to happen, and they already had the G3 in the works over working with SETME in Spain, so it wasn't a surprise or anything. And one could understand why Belgium didn't want to give Germany the rights to make their new gun. But yeah, this fires 7.62 NATO, which is commonly called 308. It fires from metric 20-round magazines. This one was built from an original kit. Has the 3-position selector, but this one's just a dummy. Semi works, and safe still works as usual. Let's see, what else? It's pretty standard metric FAL. Yeah, the Century G1 sporters are quite common. You'll see those, but they're a little more of a modern take on it. They don't have the removable muzzle device for one thing. This one does have an original German barrel on it, which is nice. One reason I picked it up. It's on a DSA Type I receiver, which is made on tooling DSA got from Steyr. But yeah, these were used throughout the early, maybe up to the mid-60s when they were phased out. And then most of them sold off to Turkey, which is why a lot of the kits that are coming in, have come in, are pretty well used. They were well used over there and elsewhere. But yeah, this is what West Germany was fielding when East Germany was fielding the MPI-K and the MPI-KM early on. It's a heavier rifle, maybe a little more accurate, but not definitely as good in full auto. Definitely more expensive to buy or produce than any AK. Everything is mostly machined, very few stamped parts, dust cover. But yeah, FAL. We're hoping to shoot it, but the CBC ammo we have, which is Brazilian, it will not work in FALs. We've tried it in Argentines, we've tried it in Belgians, we've tried it in a few kit builds like this one. It just will not work in FALs. We even put the gas system up to 6 or 7, and it was starting to work a little better, but I don't want to beat the crap out of my guns. So we'll have to try it next time. Surprisingly, it works great with Tula steel cased, and so do other FALs. So if you're buying ammo, I would recommend just sticking with Tula. It's affordable and it works in FALs as long as you're not needing to reload it. But yeah, this is what West Germany was going along with. We'll move on. And this is the rifle that replaced the G1 in West German service. This is the G3, most commonly called the HK G3 today. It really wasn't until, the 70s that HK bought out the G3 name and everything associated with it, although it did work with SEPMI in Spain to develop this rifle as early as 1955, 1956. But in the early days, this was produced by both HK and Rheinmetall, and this was adopted in 1959, this pattern of gun. Now this is a PTR 91 GI that I've modified some, and I have more modifications to come. In our video we did a few years ago, you saw it with the standard stock on. Now we've got this wonderful German meat cleaver, meat tenderizer collapsing stock on it, because apparently pain is good. We did that. This has I'll flip it over here, a steel lower, which came from Vector, a little more in keeping as opposed to the Navy lower that they ship with it. I took off the windage adjustment nut and put a standard screw in, so it looks more, the rear sight looks more like a G3. Has a standard G3 heat shield handguards on it, G3 flash hider, G3 bayonet lug. I would like to do, and I have the parts to do it with at time, put in a paddle mag release here and put on the grenade ring triple frame. Just need to do that. One day I will. But yeah, this is basically a copy of the G3A3, which is the slightly modernized G3 that came into service a few years after. This is a roller lock delayed gun, developed from the SEPMI Mod C, which developed from the Mod A, which traces its lineage back to the German STG-45M, which is at the closing days of World War II. Not many were made, maybe 100 total complete 45Ms ever come out of the Mauser factory. So in a way, this gun was German originally. There was this pattern. Then it went to Spain. Then it came back to West Germany. So it has an interesting history. Like the G1, it fires the 7.62 NATO cartridge out of a 20-round mag. This mag in it here is one of the alloy ones, but they also originally made steel phosphated mags. What's one thing nice about these is with just two push pins you can swap out from a folding stock, or a collapsing stock I should say, to a fixed stock, so that's interesting modularity. Has a relatively thin profile barrel. It's still very hot. We only put about maybe 30 rounds to it, but it's still very warm 15 minutes later. No gas system on it. It did cycle the CBC Brazilian stuff okay, whereas the FAL did not, so it did well there. That's about all to say about it. Most of you guys know the PTR 91 was a version that they made started making a few years ago, and they still make it. But it has a enlarged 7.62 spec chamber, more military style features. It comes usually with military type furniture, and a lot of them have this military Parkerized type finish, which I like better. But yeah, just a really good G3 type rifle made in the USA on tooling by PTR that they purchased from Portugal, which was originally HK licensed. So even though it's US made, it's made within spec. The receiver foldings and the scope mounts are in spec, all that stuff. It is a very simple, lightweight gun. Has a massive bolt, fire control group down here, and not much else inside the receiver. But this is what West Germany was working with from the early to mid 60s up through, it was replaced in the mid to late 90s by the G36. There were attempts to replace it with the G11 and the G41, but they never went to fruition. So this stayed in service for many decades, at least 30, even more. And this is what they were working with while East Germany was using the MPI KM and later the MPI 74. It's a more powerful rifle, of course, probably a little more accurate, but not as controllable in full auto, more expensive to produce most likely, although I will say that HKs are not as expensive as FALs to make. Lots of stamped and welded parts on them. But interesting comparison, a very large rifle, lighter than the FAL but still heavier than the stamped receiver AK. This is what they were going with during the Cold War. And there's several versions and varieties you can get in the USA today. There's the original pre-ban HK91s, there's plenty of Century guns, there's PTR guns like this one, and Vector guns, several others. But they're a lot of fun to shoot, reliable, and pretty easy to work with. Push pins take the hand guard off just like the stock. The lower comes off easily, so a lot of toolless parts come off, and adjustable turret type sights, diopter sights, which is nice. But that's what we've got. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll do it again next time. Videoing.